November 16th, 2023, a date burned into my memory like a scar I can never erase. It was late, the kind of night when the world feels still, as if it's holding its breath. I sat at my desk, the glow of my laptop the only light in the room, when an email appeared. The subject line sent a chill racing down my spine. "You need to see this before it's too late." My instinct was to delete it. Another scam, I thought. But just as my finger hovered over the button, I saw the sender's name, Dr. Evelyn Harper. That name stopped me cold. 10 years ago, she wasn't just my professor. She was my mentor, the kind of mind that made you question everything you thought you knew about the world. She taught me to see consciousness not as a boundary, but as a doorway. Then in 2015, she vanished without a trace. No warning, no goodbye, nothing. And now, out of nowhere, here she was, staring back at me from my screen. I clicked the email, my heart pounding. It contained only one sentence. "What you seek lies in the midnight files." For a moment, I hesitated. Every rational part of me screamed to walk away, to close that door and never look back. But something deeper, curiosity, obsession, maybe even fate, pulled me forward. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed. This was one of them. What I didn't know was that this email wasn't just a message. It was an invitation to something far darker. If you were in my place, staring at the key to something unexplainable, would you open the door or let it remain locked forever? The email was brief, just one line. "The truth lies in the midnight files." Attached was a file labeled Consciousness Experiment 2015. For a moment I hesitated, my instincts screaming to leave it alone. But curiosity has always been my weakness, and something about the file drew me in, like a moth to a flame. With a deep breath, I clicked. Inside were pages upon pages of notes, diagrams, and case studies. It was dense, almost impenetrable, but one phrase kept appearing: the shared mind. Dr. Harper's words echoed in my head, words she had once spoken during one of her lectures. The mind is a key, but not all doors are meant to be unlocked. What I read felt less like science and more like horror. The shared mind wasn't just a theory, it was something they had tried to access. Volunteers reported visions of shadowy figures looming just beyond sight, voices that spoke in languages they didn't understand, and the unmistakable sensation of being watched by something vast. The more I read, the more uneasy I felt, like the room was getting colder, darker. Then my phone buzzed. A message appeared on the screen: "Do not continue. You are not ready for the truth." No name, no number, just those words, as if they were written directly to me. But even as fear gripped me, I couldn't stop. The midnight files had already pulled me in, and I knew there was no turning back. If you were standing where I was, staring at the edge of an abyss, would you take a step forward or walk away? For the next 2 days, I was consumed. I barely ate, and sleep became an afterthought as I sifted through the haunting words in those files. The deeper I dug, the more sinister the picture became. One case refused to leave my mind, a man named Daniel Reese. February 2015, according to the records, was the month he volunteered for an experiment aimed at accessing the shared mind. At first, his session seemed like the others, but then the notes took a darker turn. Daniel spoke of something ancient watching, his words scrawled in shaky handwriting across the pages. He begged the researchers to stop, to pull him out, but they didn't. The last line of the report was chillingly abrupt. Subject unresponsive. Experiment terminated. I couldn't stop there. I needed more. Searching further, I found a police report. The day after his session, Daniel's car was discovered abandoned on a remote road near a town called Black Hollow. The engine was still running, but Daniel Reese, he was never seen again. That night, the files weren't the only thing haunting me. My phone buzzed. At first I thought it was just another text, but no, it was something else entirely, a video. The file name was simple, just 2 words: Session 7. My hands shook as I stared at the screen, the implications rattling in my mind. This was no ordinary experiment. This was something much darker, something alive. My finger hovered over the play button, trembling with the weight of what I might see. I knew, without question, that pressing play could change everything, but I clicked anyway. If you were holding the answers to a mystery that could consume you, would you risk it all to uncover the truth or walk away? The video was grainy, the kind of footage that makes you lean closer, searching for clarity. At first I saw Daniel Reese, strapped to a chair with electrodes attached to his temples. His breathing was calm, almost unnervingly so, as if he had no idea what was about to happen. A robotic voice, cold and detached, filled the room. Session 7 commencing. For a few moments, nothing happened. Then Daniel's breathing quickened. His eyes began darting around the room, following something unseen. His lips trembled as he whispered, "It's here, it's watching me." The tension in his body grew unbearable. His whispers turned to frantic pleas, and then, out of nowhere, he screamed. Not a normal scream, a soul-piercing, gut-wrenching sound that made the hair on my arms stand on end. "Get it out! Get it out of my head!" Suddenly, the screen went black. Static filled the silence, but it wasn't silent for long. Beneath the crackling noise, I heard it, a whisper. My name. Faint, almost imperceptible, but unmistakable. When the video returned, the chair was empty. Daniel was gone. No sign of him, as if he'd been erased from existence. I stared at the screen, unable to move. Then my phone buzzed again. A new message appeared. This one wasn't cryptic or vague. It was chillingly direct. "You're next." What would you do if the unknown was no longer just a mystery, but a threat? Would you run, or would you stay, knowing you might be the next to vanish into the darkness? I had to know the truth. The questions gnawed at me, refusing to let me rest. Every lead pointed to Black Hollow, a small, forgotten town in the middle of nowhere. Dr. Harper's last known location was there, an abandoned research facility shrouded in rumors and whispers. I arrived late in the afternoon, but the sky had already darkened, heavy clouds blotting out the sun. The facility loomed ahead, its decaying walls and shattered windows a monument to something long forgotten, or purposefully hidden. Inside, the air was thick with dust and something else, something oppressive, like the weight of countless unseen eyes. The building was silent except for my own footsteps, but it felt alive, as though it were holding its breath. I found it in the furthest corner of the building, a single room lit faintly by a flickering bulb. The walls were covered in scrawled messages, some in English, others in languages I didn't recognize. But one stood out, written in bold, crimson letters, "The truth lies within you." The moment I read it, a crushing weight fell over me. My chest tightened, and it felt like the air was being forced from my lungs. My vision blurred, and the room seemed to spin around me. I reached out to steady myself, but everything went black. When I woke up, I was outside the facility. I had no memory of how I got there, but my phone was in my hand. There was a new video, one I didn't remember recording. In the video, I stood in the same room staring at the crimson writing on the wall. My face was pale, my eyes wide with terror. I whispered 2 words over and over again. "It's coming." I didn't remember saying those words. I didn't remember being in that room. But the look in my eyes, the sheer dread, told me I wasn't imagining this. Something was coming. If you stood where I stood, knowing the truth might destroy you, would you press forward or turn back? And if you did, would it even matter? Because sometimes the truth finds you whether you want it to or not. Since that night, nothing in my life has felt normal. Every night without fail, I wake up at exactly 3:15 a.m. It's not the kind of awakening that comes with a bad dream or a restless mind. It's different. It's as if something pulls me from sleep, something unseen but undeniably present. At first, I only heard whispers, faint and distant, like voices carried on a breeze. They said my name, over and over again. But now, it's more than that. The whispers tell me things I have no way of knowing, things I shouldn't know. Details about people, places, events that are impossible for me to have encountered. The shared mind isn't just a theory scribbled in the margins of Dr. Harper's notes. It's real, and it's not just a connection between us. It's a pathway. Something is using it. Something is coming. I've tried to stop it. I've ignored the whispers, shut off my devices, and even left my home for days at a time. But it doesn't matter. No matter where I go, no matter how far I run, it finds me. And if you're watching this, I need you to understand, you're part of it now too. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you dismiss it, convince yourself this is nothing more than a strange story? Or will you search for the truth, knowing it may come at a cost? Because what I've discovered next, it changes everything. Are you ready to see it?